Welcome back to Valley News Now. Adam Shalafu and Devin Fry. I almost forgot my name there, Devin.
It's a tough name.
I'm having an identity crisis. I'm still wearing Russ Thomas's shirt per our bet.
Yeah, we should definitely explain why you have to wear a Falcon shirt of all things.
We have a very fun fantasy football league, which you are yet to check your team.
Am I doing well?
I am going to check.
I hope I'm doing well.
I think because you were like above 500 for a long time. Yeah. I think you're not. But here's the ironic part here is like you never took Puka Nacua out of your starting lineup.
Right.
He had a great game last night.
Yeah.
And so you might be.
I was not aware I had Puka Nacua until right now when you told me that.
You do. Right. And
who's my quarterback?
You have some good ones. You're up 19-0. Nuka. That would be a great team name if you only would manage your team.
If only.
But team change name after the draft is up 19-0.
Yeah.
And what is your record in there? Okay, you're 2-5.
Oh, okay.
You've cooled down big time. But anyway, Russ beat me. Right. Me and Russ are both 4-3. We had an agreement. That's just the ghosts. Don't worry about it.
That happens every time I'm on here. I don't like it. Anyway.
The ghosts don't like you.
I get that.
But anyway, yeah. So Russ and I had a bet. I thought I was going to beat him. Deebo Samuel didn't play at all, and here I am wearing a Falcons shirt. But
that's fine.
It is comfortable.
You got that going for you.
It's also uncomfortable.
Nice. Like the more of a philosophical comfort than discomfort, I should say. I talk for a living.
Yeah. Well, anyway, let's get into the meat of this sandwich. We got a lot of big football stuff to talk about. NDSU coming off what was one of, we talked about it, I believe it was Monday, and for such a low-scoring game, that was one of the most fun football experiences I've had in a really long time.
Well, and there's a difference between low scoring in the senses of like the offense can't move the football versus defenses playing really well. And what we saw was two defenses playing really well, and those are the top two teams in the country.
Yeah, they got to be.
Absolutely. And, well, Montana State certainly makes some noise right now, but those two teams looked like the top two teams in the country on Saturday.
I'm going to continue to say that is going to be the championship in Frisco.
I truly hope so, and I think that it's certainly tracking that way for right now. But no, that Dakota Marker win, one of the biggest regular season games that we've seen in the Fargo Dome, if not the biggest in quite some time. 1 versus 2 in the country. North Dakota State got the Rock back. It was a huge day. But at the end of the day, it's kind of what happens after the dust settles that everyone's focused on right now, which they lost a couple of pretty key contributors, one more so than others. The first season-ending injury was Sam Young, safety for North Dakota State. He had been starting for a handful of games now and been playing. He had a stretch of 4 or 5 games where he was just playing really, really well. And Coach Paulsek said that the part that they're going to miss the most is the communication factor that he brings to the defense, which was what they were lacking early in the year we talked about, but then they obviously figured it out once Valley Play started. And so he tore his pec. And so he's out for the rest of the year. He's a senior as well, so a season-ending injury as a senior, that hurts.
Can he still come back next year? He's done.
The season.
Okay.
And that's the same issue we ran into with the next guy who suffered a torn labrum, Cole Payton, NDSU's backup quarterback slash offensive weapon. He fell into he tore his labrum, and it was more of Coach Polasek made it clear that it's something that he could, in theory, play through, but they weren't able to get his shoulder. What's the word I'm looking for? Not like in a sling. They couldn't get it in the right spot where that would heal naturally.
Okay.
And so they said if he goes back out there, he would basically just be handing off the ball, and the chances of re-injury were extremely high. Yeah. And so they made the call to shut him down, and we talked to Coach Polasek about that decision, and he had the future in mind as well for why Cole is sitting out the rest of the year, because don't forget, this guy is next in line for the Bison starting quarterback. So Coach Polasek made his decision to kind of shut Cole down for the rest of the year.
I was told there's a really high probability of dislocation again, of putting it at risk again, based on where this lesion or tear is. I'm not comfortable putting him out there. He is the future once we get to. I'm not worried about the future right now. except for Yar. And we have to start building this offense around him come February 1st.
And I think it's the right call.
Yeah.
I mean, you really do want to, like Polisek said, we're not worried about the future right now, except that we are.
you always have to be a little bit. And like I saw a bunch of people saying, well, how do we even know that Cole's going to start next year? Well, the head coach seems to think that he's going to.
And so, I mean, it would just be a big shock if he didn't.
Right. And they have Nathan Hayes back there. He's now the backup. Trey Drake looking like the third guy right now. But when Cole has become as much of part of that offense as he is, and when you're expecting to hand him the keys when the season's over, you got to think about that kind of stuff.
And what year's Hayes?
Hayes is, I think, a redshirt freshman.
Okay, so you want him for years down the road, too.
Exactly.
Like, you got to kind of keep an eye on the future as well as the now.
And especially, like, when it comes to, you don't want Cole to, you want him next year. He's gonna have,
and you want him healthy.
Right, exactly. And he's going to have 1 year as NDSU starting quarterback.
Yeah.
And so, like, get him rested up for the rest of this year. And that's what, and I couldn't commend Coach Polisek enough for making that decision, because that's a tough call.
It is.
When you have a guy who's as much of a weapon as Cole Payton is, that's a tough call to shut him down, especially when, like, the focus is on when he's a sophomore, Nathan Hayes is.
Okay.
So I was technically right, but same year. But when you being able to make that call while still trying to focus on winning games, that's an incredibly difficult decision that head coaches are faced with. And this is the second week in a row that they lost somebody to a season-ending injury. In the last 2 weeks, they've lost Dylan Hendricks, Sam Young, and now Cole Payton.
And you already lost Wisniewski going into the year.
Correct. And Cam had his ankle thing a couple weeks ago that came out. He obviously was fine for South Dakota State. He played really, really well, but it was still bothering him for a couple weeks there.
I also feel like it's, sure, he's able to play through it, but he probably isn't at 100%.
Right.
It's hard for your ankle to actually get time to heal.
Right.
Now, their bye week still
they got 2 more games, this Murray State game coming up, and then 1 more before the bye week even. So they have a big stretch of games right in a row here.
And hopefully they can kind of get healthier then.
And like, that is kind of a plus about the late bye week.
Yeah.
I would have liked it if I was coaching the program. I would like it earlier, just to kind of, they've played a lot of games in a row right now, coming back from Colorado to where we are now. And like, high-profile games. That Colorado matchup, very physical, very intense. The UND matchup, very physical, very intense. South Dakota State, I don't have to tell you how physical that was. And some emotional wins there over UND and South Dakota State. So there's a lot to recover from throughout the season. And so that bye week, I think it would have been kind of perfect, but right before UND is probably where I would have wanted it. Ideally, you don't get to pick, but I think they're going to get it in a pretty good spot to rest up a little bit before we get into playoff football. Which they're approaching.
And hopefully they have a bye week there too.
Right, exactly. Which they're shaping up to right now. Right now, it's looking like NDSU and Montana State would have the home field advantage on either side of the bracket right now.
Okay.
So, God, what a fun playoff bracket that's going to be.
No kidding.
But we got a little bit of time. Before I wanted to mention, I talked to Coach Polisek. I asked him about how he balances trying to keep his guys healthy while trying to win football games, because they mentioned at the beginning of Valley play, they're in a playoff mode right now. They have to win every Valley game. But as you can see, we've got some guys pretty banged up. So I talked to Coach Polisek kind of about his mindset through this.
You got to keep moving the football team forward. We have a group of guys that practice and preparation is important, all right, but they don't need 9,000 reps. Now we're interjecting some guys that sure could use every rep that we can get, and so we're going to have to balance that and be really smart. And you know, we don't want to attack this thing with an axe. We want to attack it with a scalpel, and we'll have to be really sharp.
And that was my favorite quote.
You don't want to come at it with an axe.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and it makes sense. You don't. But yeah, they have to be on top of this right now, with trying to just keep guys healthy, give them the rest when you can throughout the week. But and like weeks like this, literally zero offense to Murray State. Weeks like this where they were able to rest Monday after a massive rivalry game, this is going to be where they're kind of being able to ramp up a little bit more.
Yeah.
And so we'll see what happens. They're making their first ever trip to Murray, Kentucky coming up this weekend, so that'll be exciting. And then UND also on the road. They're also coming off of a big win. UND defeating Northern Iowa on Saturday in the Alara Center. Now, this game against Youngstown State is interesting for one really big reason, in my opinion. This is their first time playing on the road since, not on the road. This is their first time playing outside of the state of North Dakota since their season opener.
Wow.
And it's about almost double the length of a trip to Youngstown, Ohio than it was to Ames, Iowa. So it's their longest road trip of the year by far. And like I said, they haven't left the state of North Dakota in about 8 weeks. So I talked to the team just kind of about some of the things you have to be prepared. They really love the Costco guys dance. That was 2 guys that we've seen do it now. Bobo
The Costco guy.
Oh, yeah.
This one?
Yeah, I'll explain the Costco guys to you when we're off the air. You're not going to enjoy it, but that's what the dance is alluding to. But anyway, I talked to the team about getting ready to play on the road for a first time in a while.
We still got to come in every day, and we got to work. At practice this week, we got to execute the game plan that coaches are putting in for us. Just going on the road, be able to stay mentally prepared, going into travel, and then coming when we get there Friday, and then coming into Saturday, just staying ready no matter what.
It's been great to be in the state of North Dakota all those weeks, but now it'll be a little bit different again, a fly trip, which we haven't done for a while, and a number of guys will be either their second trip with our team or some of them their first trip with our team. So just staying in the moment and really locked in on the plan and the game.
I just got this actually on my. I did want to mention Christian Darrisaw from the Minnesota Vikings.
Yep.
Confirmed now ACL and MCL.
Oh,
injury.
boy.
So speaking of injuries, sorry,
That's a huge one.
Vikings fans out there. Christian Darrisaw is one of, if not the best offensive lineman in the league.
Yeah.
And so. Yeah, no, that hurts, and so he's done. He was getting season-ending surgery now to repair 2 ligaments in the knee, so that's tough. But anyway, yeah, no. UND football playing on the road. UND hockey getting to stay at home. Big top 10 series there, hosting Boston. They always fun, and you know they love their the early season. You know, they like to get the tough games out of the way early in the season. We've played enough sound from them of them talking about how important it is to have these non-conference games be really, really tough. And Boston is as tough as it gets. And then, you know, they had their first road test against Minnesota State. Mankato's always a tough place to play in. And so they split there, including a Friday game where they were down 2-0, I should say, heading into the third period. They rattled off 3 unanswered goals to win that one. So UND hockey sitting at 2-1 on the season. Getting ready to host Boston. And the pairwise is interesting right now. It's very early in the year, so obviously Maine holding the top spot in the pairwise right now. This will change a ton as we get closer to the end of the season.
And if you're trying to get geared up, if you're going to the game today or tomorrow, go back and watch. Eric and I had talkbacks. We also had the press conference streamed on Valley News Now.
Yep.
And Eric, so on the ball, in this case on the puck, this year, but he really broke down just who the dragons that need to be slayed, if you will, for Boston. Just a
and 2
dangerous
of them are in Massachusetts,
team.
exactly.
Yeah.
Boston is very, very, very good. They have. I would go just to watch some of the players that Boston has on that roster.
Yeah. I'm going for that reason.
Some of the best players in the country are going to be on the ice on Friday and Saturday in the Ralph.
You're looking at future NHL stars on both sides of the ice. That's going to be a great series and a great litmus test.
Another thing that Eric did that I wanted to plug, he did a story on Carter Wilkie yesterday. The transfer portal has become pretty familiar to UND hockey lately. They've been grabbing some of their biggest playmakers out of that. Carter Wilkie he's from RIT, which is Rhode Island Tech.
Okay.
He had back-to-back 40-point seasons
Wow.
with them, and
All right.
now he's spending his last season at UND, and he already has a goal
Boom.
in 3 games. So no, he scored it in his second game, I believe. So Wilkie is looking solid, and Eric had a good story on him yesterday. So you can find that on our website right now, valleynewslive.com. Cheap plugs.
But wait till you're done watching this.
Right. Finish this, which we're almost done. We just have one more thing to talk about, which is, Adam, your favorite.
Basketball. I love basketball.
This was an exhibition matchup that was maybe more anticipated in the Shack than some of the regular season games that we've seen. North Dakota State hosting MSUM. MSUM is still very solid. Jacob Beninga,
I love Jacob Beninga.
There he is, right there. He led both teams with 20 points. He's still obviously very good. He was shooting lights out from 3 as well. I didn't have anything, I didn't show that clip, but he was. Jameer Price also had 16 points. So,
Okay.
and you saw their 7-1 force that they had in the middle. He had like 3 blocks in the first half for MSUM. So MSUM still looking solid, but North Dakota State did survive this one with a 4-point win there in this exhibition opener. Now, I think that people got a little too caught up in playing that close to a quote Division II team.
This isn't any Division II
Right.
team.
High-level D2 teams can give any mid-major program in the country a run for their money. And I truly believe that, and I don't think that they get enough credit for that. But, I think some of the it's the first game of the year. It's the first time some of these guys are out there. Jackson Money made his return to
Cheyenne Mustang.
Correct, Cheyenne Mustang. He scored 14 points there.
Okay.
And so he's back in the building, but he's one of the new guys that they're trying to get up there. One thing that was a little concerning to me was Noah Feddersen.
Okay.
Probably their most experienced, one of their more experienced returners, which is crazy because he's very young.
Yeah.
But he was in the starting lineup. He was taking some interesting shots, and he's a big kid. He had 9 rebounds, which is great, but then he went 1 of 8 from the field, and a bunch of them were really long threes. He loves,
'Cause he can shoot the three,
right,
but
and he loves to shoot it. But he was a little cold yesterday. I'm hoping that's just game 1
Yeah.
to get some of that out. Jakari White still as good as he was last year.
Jakari the Ferrari.
And then I think there's a new player named Mason Miller. We have another Mason Miller in the
It's
area.
not the same Mason
No,
Miller.
he's going to be an early fan favorite. Coach Richmond said in his post-game press conference that he's going to have a hard time getting that guy off the court.
Okay.
He's a real utility guard. I think his assist numbers are going to be crazy this year. Maybe some high steal numbers too. So be on the watch out for Mason Miller there. One thing that was interesting to me, Tajavis Miller only had 13 minutes. And I thought that was interesting. I'm not sure what their rotation's going to look like this year.
And, just in general with like preseason tune-up games,
Right.
I feel like if you're a college basketball coach, sure you want to win, but it's more important to kind of get a feel for who you can play where.
Right.
That's your time to experiment with your lineup a little bit,
Right.
see how certain players mesh together. I don't think that there's anything you can take away with any certainty as far as like minutes
Right.
go.
No, that's fair. That's fair. And this is really the time, like you said, to kind of figure out who plays well together, who plays out there the best. And then honestly, just getting these guys in their first like live action of the year, that's huge. Just seeing how they handle that. But NDSU has another matchup against, they're playing Jamestown in their regular season opener. That one's not an exhibition. That one is real basketball. And then I did want to mention, I don't want anyone to think that we're ignoring anybody. Oh, that's next Monday, NDSU is hosting Jamestown. No, wait, Monday, November 4th. I'm not sure if that's next Monday. So I'm sorry if I lied to you just now. No, that's not next Monday. That's 2 Mondays from now. And then MSUM is taking part in a tournament in Kansas City on January 8th.
Okay.
That's where they're going to start their year. So,
Okay, very good.
I'm very excited to see what the Dragons do. Obviously, they've made 4 national tournaments in a row, so I'm excited to see how they follow that up. Jacob Beninga is going to maybe establish himself as the greatest Dragon that's ever played the game.
He's on pace. And I also think, like, if you're an NDSU fan, you can be happy NDSU won yesterday. If you're an MSUM fan, you can be happy that you only lost by 4 to a D1 program.
Right. And I will say, it looked like, at least from where I was sitting, there might have been more MSUM fans in the Shack than Bison fans on.
If I'm an MSUM fan, I'm more excited to see them against NDSU than I am probably 80% of,
Correct.
especially like the non-conference games.
Right.
That's really cool to be able to see them play in the
You're really
Shack.
hyped up for like Minnesota State, but then the rest of it,
Yeah.
probably NDSU has that edge.
Yeah,
there a
like
little
no offense to University of Arkansas Monticello.
bit. Oh, probably Monticello. That's how it's pronounced in Minnesota. I don't know if that's how it's pronounced here. But what about Black Hills State? Anyway, exciting matchups for MSUM coming up. And I don't want anyone to think anyone's being ignored. We talked to both UND basketball teams as well. Eric Moon was up there on Wednesday. And so we got stories coming out from them next week. So be sure to stay tuned. I have a fun little angle cooking for some of them.
I'm
So,
very excited to see what that's all about.
I'm hoping that as things start to, I know it sounds crazy to say that things are starting to settle down a little bit, but things are starting to settle down a little bit as more sports kind of come in.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that we're going to be able to get more into storytelling mode on the red zone here rather than just highlights all the time.
And right now it is that time.
We've
of
had
year.
a ton of action, and I love the action, but I have some stories I want to tell.
I can't wait to hear them. Thank you so much. That's all we got for you. Hey. All right?
Stay tuned. Yeah,
All
I
right,
don't
cool.
have anything else.
Okay, cool.
I said my piece.
What game's coming up tonight?
Tonight on, it's not Friday Night Live, Friday Night Live's over, but we have regular season finales I'm going out to Horace for their matchup, and then West Fargo and Cheyenne playing for a brand new trophy. Let me show you this.
Let's see the trophy.
I can't show the people this.
You know,
but,
we do have the technology. I will make it happen. We're
Okay.
going to do a super zoom. You pull that up and you flip that around, and
Gotcha.
I will use the technology.
West Fargo's athletic director posted this picture of their new trophy.
Oh, that's the side of my head. Okay. Stay with us, folks.
It is the...
Oh, wow. Oh,
Oh, I got you. Don't worry.
Okay.
It is the
Just
Pack
gonna
Stang
load it.
trophy. That is a bull and a horse on one trophy.
Pack Stang Trophy. That's kind of
Pack
cool.
Stang trophy. Let me show you what it replaced, because I'm kind of upset about this. I'm not going to lie to you. They used to play for the Ogre every year. And
Okay.
I love the Ogre.
All right. Let's get back to this now. Whoa!
I love the Ogre. It's the ugliest trophy I've ever seen, and I love it so much. But now the Ogre's dead, and we got the Pack Stang trophy that they're playing for tonight. So we'll have those two high school football games, and then the North Dakota hockey team in action as well against Boston. Obviously, Eric Moon is going to be up there. A lot of headroom here. Eric Moon's going to be up there, and he'll be sending back highlights for us to air tonight. So be sure to stay tuned. We got a lot of fun stuff coming, as always.
Have a great night. Have a happy Friday. Have a safe weekend. We'll see you next time on Valley News Now. This has been Checking the Score with Adam and Devin.